guys, what's up? What's up? Hello, 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 hello. Let's read Law 39. Law 39. Okay, Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. Judgment. Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive. You must always stay calm and objective. But if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you gain a decided advantage. Put your enemies off balance, find the chink in their vanity through which you can rattle them, and you hold the strings. Ooh. Transgression of the law. In January of 1809, an agitated and anxious Napoleon hurried back to Paris from his Spanish wars. His spies and confidants had confirmed a rumor that his foreign minister Talleyrand had conspired against him with Fauci, the minister of police. Immediately on arriving in the capital, the shocked emperor summoned his ministers to the palace. Following them into the meeting right after their arrival, he began pacing up and down and started rambling vaguely about plotters working against him, speculators bringing down the stock market, legislators delaying his policies, and his own ministers undermining him. As Napoleon talked, Talleyrand leaned on the mantelpiece, looking completely indifferent. Facing Talleyrand indirectly, Napoleon announced, "For these ministers, treason has begun when they permit themselves to doubt." At the word treason, the ruler expected his minister to be afraid, but Talleyrand only smiled, calm and bored. The sight of a subordinate apparently serene in the face of a charges that could get him hanging pushed Napoleon to the edge. There were ministers, he said, who wanted him dead, and he took a step closer to Talleyrand, who stared back at him, unfazed. Finally, Napoleon exploded. "You are a coward," he screamed in Talleyrand's face, "a man of no faith. Nothing is sacred to you. You would sell your own father. I have showered you with riches, and yet there is nothing you would do to hurt me. You would not do to hurt me." The other ministers looked at each other in disbelief. They had never seen this fearless general, the conqueror of most of Europe, so unhinged. "You deserve to be broken like glass," Napoleon continued, stamping. "I have the power to do it, but I have too much contempt for you to bother. Why didn't I have you hanged from the gates of the Tuileries? But there is still time for that." Yelling, almost out of breath, his face red, his eyes bulging, he went on, "You, by the way, are nothing but shit in a silk stocking. What about your wife? You never told me that San Carlos was your wife's lover." "Indeed, sire, it did not occur to me that this information had any bearing on your Majesty's glory or my own," said Talleyrand, calmly, completely unflustered. After a few more insults, Napoleon walked away. Talleyrand slowly crossed the room, moving with his characteristic limp as an attendant helped him with his cloak. He turned to his fellow ministers, all afraid they would never see him again, and said, "What a pity, gentlemen, that so great a man should have such bold manners." Despite his anger, Napoleon did not arrest his foreign ministers. He merely relieved him of his duties and banished him from the court, believing that for this man humiliation would be punishment enough. He did not realize that word had quickly spread of his tirade, and how the emperor had completely lost control of himself, and how Talleyrand had essentially humiliated him by maintaining his composure and dignity. A page had been turned. For the first time, people had seen the great emperor lose his cool under fire. A feeling spread that he was on the way down. As Talleyrand later said, "This is the beginning of the end." Interpretation. This was indeed the beginning of the end. Waterloo was still 6 years ahead, but Napoleon was on slow descent of defeat, crystallizing in 1812. With his disastrous invasion of Russia, Talleyrand was the first to see the signs of his decline, especially in the irrational war with Spain. Sometime in 1808, the minister decided that for the future peace of Europe, Napoleon had to go, and so he conspired with Fauci. It's possible that the conspiracy was never anything more than a ploy, a device to push Napoleon over the edge. It's hard to believe that two of the most practical men in the history would only go halfway in their plotting. They may have been only stirring the waters, trying to goad Napoleon into a misstep, and indeed what they got was a tantrum that laid out his loss of control for all to see. In fact, Napoleon's soon famous blow-up that afternoon had a profoundly negative effect on his public image. This is a problem with the angry response. At first it may strike fear and terror, but only in some, and as the day passes and the storm clears, other responses emerge. Embarrassment and uneasiness about the sourdo's capacity for going out of control, and resentment of what has been said. Losing your temper, you always make unfair and exaggerated accusations of you. Such tirades and people are counting the days until you are gone. In the face of a conspiracy against him, a conspiracy between his two most important ministers, Napoleon certainly had a right to feel angry and anxious, but by responding so angrily and so quickly, he only demonstrated his frustration. To show your frustration is to show that you have lost your power to shape events. Is the helpless action of the child who resorts to a hysterical fit to get his way. The powerful never reveal this kind of weakness. There are a number of things Napoleon could have done in this situation. He could have thought about the fact that two eminently sensible men had reason to turn against him, and could have listened and learned from them. He could have tried to win them back to him. He could even have gotten rid of them, making their imprisonment or death an ominous display of his power. No tires, no childish fears, no embarrassing after effects, just a quiet and definitive severing of ties. Remember, tantrums neither intimidate nor inspire loyalty. They only create doubts and uneasiness about your power, exposing your weakness. These stormy eruptions often herald our fall. Observance of the law. By the late 1920s, Haile Selassie had nearly achieved his goal of assuming total control over Ethiopia, a country he felt needed strong and unified leadership. As regent of the Empress Zawde, stepdaughter of the late queen and heir to the throne, Selassie had spent several years weakening the power of Ethiopia's various warlords. Now only one real obstacle stood in his way: the Empress and her husband Res Gagsa. Selassie knew the royal couple hated him and wanted to get rid of him. So to cut short their plotting, he made Gugsa the governor of the northern province of Bigamber, forcing him to leave the capital where the empress lived. For several years, Gagsa played the loyal administrator, but Selassie did not trust him. He knew that Gagsa and the empress were plotting revenge. As time passed and Gagsa made no move, the chances of plot only increased. Selassie knew that what he had to do: throw Gagsa out, get under his skin, and push him into action before he was ready. For several years, the northern tribe Azebugelas had been in virtual rebellion against the throne, robbing and pillaging local villages and refusing to pay taxes. Selassie had done nothing to stop them, letting them grow stronger. Finally, in 1929, he ordered Res Gagsa to lead an army against this disobedient tribesman. Gagsa agreed, but inwardly he see that he had no grudge against the Azebugelas, and the demand that he fight them hurt his pride. He could not disobey the order. But as he worked to put together an army, he began to spread an ugly rumor that Selassie was in cahoots with the Pope and planned to convert the country in Roman Catholicism and make it a colony of Italy. Gagsa's army swelled, and some of the tribes from which its soldiers came secretly agreed to fight Selassie. In March of 1930, an enormous force of 35,000 men began to march not on the Azebugelas but south toward the capital of Addis Ababa. More confident by his growing strength, Gagsa now openly led a holy war to dispose Selassie and put the country back in the hands of true Christians. He did not see the trap he had been laid for him. Before Selassie had ordered Gagsa to fight the Azebugelas, he had secured the support of the